sitting at a pretty even record, and they have a chance now to really turn things around. So game number 1 gets kicked off here, as the Knights looking to put on the first attack. Shock, who's been a standout player for the Sonics, game in and game out, so clutch for this team, especially in overtime. He scored every single game-winning overtime goal for the Sonics.
Right, he's a huge player, and like you mentioned in the pre-show, Corella, I was listening, you guys talked about impact players. I completely agree with you. Shock is #1. Every move, every position on the field is so precise and calculated from this player.
Safi trying to get an air dribble going. It was stopped up by the Knights. The ball thrown downfield from AJ, and Dapper's clear now with no boost. Going to go off the sidewall. Gets Demo to open up, and a shot blocked away by Dapper.
And right before we got into this, I mentioned the fact that they weren't, the Knights weren't going for too many demos, but now right away we've seen so much more aggression. Just this game alone, it feels like we've seen more demos than the whole season for the Knights.
And that was what was so successful for the Knights last season, was the demo game. It threw off a lot of long-standing RLCS teams. Sort of this new meta. Haven't quite seen it too much from the Knights so far this season. Safi off the backboard for Dapper. Another one off the backboard. Shock patiently waiting. Lets Gyro bring it down. Still with boost here is Shock. And he sets up for Safi. Shot can't get around it. Just a bit over the head of Safi. Here's Reddles. Has options. Space. Just popped it up. And it comes clean off the back wall. I don't think anyone for the Knights thought that was going to happen.
Oh, more demos as well. But so far, Sonics have been knocking on the door waiting for that first goal. They've had great chances out in the middle. There's a good chance for AJ. Forcing the 50-50, but so far, an even game.
And Gyro was just chasing around Sonic players on their side. That's a tough one as it comes off the crossbar from AJ, and the Knights getting the better of the Sonics. But as soon as I say it, Dapper gets a dunk downfield. AJ spawns on the right side, and the ball comes straight to him in the clear away for the Knights. Safi's clear is straight into the hands of AJ. Some help from his teammate in Gyro. It's cleared away by Shock. Follow-up from Reddles is weak. But the Knights definitely getting the better of the Sonics right now. Clear from Shock. Backboard couldn't get the second touch.
Well, solid 50s as well. Everything so far from the Knights with their challenges, keeping the ball and possession in the opposition's corner, forcing it into that place where you can just starve out the opponents. They're getting all the boost. You can see they're forcing so much panic on the defensive side for Sonics.
Yeah, Sonics, a lot of balls coming clean off the back wall there, especially when 2 players go. Getting panicked on the defensive end. Shock just throws it back towards Reddles. Dapper helps him out to clear it off the ceiling. Still in control for the Knights. Pass from Gyro to Reddles across the box. High. Met by AJ. He did get to it. Safi there to shepherd it away. The Knights, though, slowly chipping away at the defense of the Sonics. This one comes down to AJ. Safi has to stretch out, uses all of his boosts, but does play it past Reddles. Gyro's going to pinch it towards the net, and a tough save. Gyro again, he plays it high. Dapper made an incredible save, but still the pressure on. Another one comes out from Dapper. The Sonics barely hanging on, and now Dapper into the air dribble.
A huge defensive stop from Dapper. Save after save. You can see the Knights, multiple shot opportunities, and yet Dapper, he got that first touch, and Gyro, he did have an opportunity but couldn't get above the ball. Sonics, they barely managed to hang on, and so far a huge defensive game from them.
Another shot comes out from Gyro. And while with all this pressure from the Knights, Sonics still holding strong on the defensive end.
Oh,
2 players go, and this is dangerous now as it's going to drop in for Gyro, and 2 bite on the Sonics leaves an open net.
And you can see Dapper and Shock actually got a little bit of each other on the wall there. It's almost like you just throw everybody into that 50-50, a 4-play a challenge. That was insane. 4 players just getting tossed into the middle of it. They end up going towards Sonic's net. I've never seen anything like that, and that's the first goal that gets scored off for the Knights.
Pittsburgh Knights now on the board first. Time running out for the Sonics. Dapper looking for Shock. Boost to work with here for Shock. He does play it over 1 player. Follow up from Dapper. Shots high, turned away by Reddles. Tathu called off. to give way for Shock, but in the end, the Sonics lose their attacking chance.
We could be seeing a repeat of what we saw last weekend with Sonics versus Ghosts. It just felt like it was all Ghost's game to win. Every single series, they were just locked into their own defensive side. Sonics couldn't clear the ball out, and we're seeing a repeat of that. However, this time, it's the Knights who are able to capitalize and punish.
Maybe one last opportunity. There's a big miss, though, for Shock. The Sonics just can't keep a hold of the ball. AJ going to try and kill it in the Sonics corner. It's going to pop out, and Gyro might get the kill from the ceiling. No, Shock's going to keep it up.
They've got a chance.
Jet Reddles. Dapper, that touch is certainly going to hit the ground, and in the end, a 1-0 victory for the Knights.
A really solid performance all around, everybody on the Knights. I love to see at the beginning, the demos, the aggression start out for the Knights, because like you said correctly, this is what worked out so well for them. And you can see the shot differential, 16 shots to 2 for Sonics. They were just locked in on their own half. They couldn't transition the ball out of their own net, and that's what forced that one opportunity, that one mistake where you get a little bit confused on the rotations and everybody's forced to go up.
And 10 saves for the Sonics as well. You can see Dapper and Shock get locked up. I don't think it would have mattered in the end.
Yeah.
That ball was far and away from any Sonics player, and it came off of the double commit.
And it was that turn as well from Dapper. You could see in midfield, he did turn around. In that instance, you would want to have communication come out from the third man, who should have most of the comms under control, telling Dapper just to rotate all the way back. He's going to go. So we might even be seeing a lapse of communication. Sonics, that panic play and getting forced into awkward situations, that's the result of that.
And so now we see the Sonics struggle against the Knights, and almost kind of a reversal. Now the Knights just really had the upper hand here in this game. They looked strong. They were putting on a lot of shots. It was tough for the Sonics to break out. And more importantly, they made the Sonics panic on defense, which just further created more problem for them. So what can you do if you're the Sonics?
I mean, for Sonics, I think you have to counter a little bit of that aggression. Maybe go for a demo on the third man who's rotating back for the Knights. If you can demo that player, then you could actually have a great counterattack opportunity. You can open up some space and alleviate some pressure, as well as you got to just win more challenges if you're Sonics.
So we head into game 2. And you do have to give some credit to the Sonics. The defense held strong. Of course, no one wants to play defense throughout an entirety of a game, but if you are making the stops, that does count for something.
I mean, just think about that play we saw with Dapper. If he can continue to perform that well on the goal line, once they start to kind of transition the ball out and Dapper's still playing so amazing on defense, you can tell and you know that Sonics are going to fight their way back into the series.
And here's an opportunity for Dapper. Can he put the striking chance on off the post? Follow up there from Shock, and immediately answered in the game 2 for Sonics.
And this comes down to poor defense on the backboard. AJ, he was looking to get a touch to where it could place and drop down into the corner of their own end, but instead it actually hits that lip and goes directly down, no angle whatsoever. And that means that Sonics can run in, rotate out. You saw Dapper got a great early shot on net, and now his team can just crash in. A much better showing so far from Sonics here in the first 30 seconds.
And I like that word, how they crash in, and that certainly has been how the Sonics have been playing. Whether it's been Shock or Dapper to set up the play, and then Sathu and the second man come through for the Sonics to just crash the net. They do get on the board first against the Knights.
And that's really a good boost of morale for Sonics, because they were locked in their entire game 1. So to get an initial early goal like that is huge for the mentality.
Shock, a dunk, and it was, in the end, cleared away by Gyro, just on the rotation. Dangerous ball. Shock, first one up, beats AJ. It's going to come down off the ceiling. Follow-up from Dapper, pushes it through, and the Sonics a 2-0 lead.
Dapper, outstanding timing on this challenge. You can see the way he positions himself on the ball is to get over it so he can block any remaining clear to get that ball out of the net. He stuffs them directly in the face, and he shoves the ball directly through the net. A great play from him.
And a solid start for game 2. Sathu, he wants a piece of the Knights defense, and it is cleared away by Gyro in the end. The Knights now looking to put on similar pressure, but the passing from Sathu to Dapper, wide open shot, and the Sonics up 3-0.
Now they're just making the defense look silly, Corella. You can see Sathu. I love that initial turn out of defense. When you're rotating out and you can get in front of a clear like that, it is huge. That's where the space was opened up for Dapper with an open net. Sonics, they're getting involved again, having these 3-man passing plays that we saw all throughout this entire season. And so far, it's been a polar opposite gameplay and style from Sonics.
Fake kickoff comes out from the Knights. It did produce somewhat of an attacking chance, or at least to advance to the final third. Here's one off the back ball. Bump from Gyro. AJ just a little bit too late on the follow-up. Can't blame him. It was a little congested in the box. Redall with full boost here. Had AJ to his left. Opted to go for the back post shot, and everyone up from the Sonics there. Watch it go by. Great fake from Gyro, looking for Redall's back post. Tried to take it himself, and Dapper gets the clear. Reynolds. Shot goes wide. Does catch out the defense, and he's so quick to the ball for a second chance, and the Knights get on the board.
Safi, you got to be quicker. Shock actually was going to slow down the play. Maybe you could have gotten a 50-50 to stall time out for the defender, Dapper, that was in the backfield. He needed more time. He just took it too slow, and that's where the Knights caught him off guard.
And so plenty of time left for the Knights to get back into it, especially after what they showed us in game one.
Yeah.
And they are showing it once again. AJ double tap from the Sonics corner. Sonics do come away with it. Shock looking to take it himself off the wall. Time for Dapper here. Plays it across. Nobody home for the Sonics. AJ takes it away. Reynolds. Tough ball. Safi couldn't get to it. And Gyro to play it off the back wall of the Sonics. Dapper muscling through. It comes out to Reynolds. Back post shot saved away by Shock.
What a stop from Shock on the goal line. The saves so far have been outstanding from Sonics. They've been managed to stay in this game because that save from Shock so crucial with the way he pre-jumped as well. You can see they're getting started on their own end. The demos are coming back in. Knights are rebuilding their confidence and pushing up even more.
Reynolds tried to take it himself. Sonics been playing a lot of defense all of a sudden. Very reminiscent of game one. Struggling to break out. They seem panicked. And quite a few lateral balls as well that aren't leading to any follow-up from the Sonics.
Yeah. And I think a lot of that just comes down to the speed at which they're transitioning out. Safi here, he's failing to control the ball. He doesn't have the dribble. I mean, when you choose to take it slow, you have to make sure you can at least get behind the ball. And Sonics are failing to do so. That's what's opening up a lot of the space and opportunities for the Knights.
Chance here for Gyro. It's a little awkward. Does beat the first man on the attack. This ball will be thrown to the Knights' corner. Comes out to Shock. The shot's going to be high off the backboard, looking for a bump, and Reddle's going to take it away. Had his boost stolen, so that'll slow down the attack for the Knights. Time ticking away, though, for the Pittsburgh Knights. While they have all that pressure, once again, struggling to find that final piece to put the ball away.
Definitely, and that's what it's come down to. It's the final shot. And while we've been sitting here criticizing a lot of the way that Sonics have been moving the ball out, what's important is that they're getting these saves and they're managing to find themselves in front of that final shot.
30 seconds left. Gyro, dangerous ball. AJ already up. Reynolds keep the attack on. Tried to play it back. Sathu there for the long clear. Going to chase it with no boost. Looking for the back wall and looking for help. Gets it from Shock. Just run the clock out at this point. I think the Knights know it.
And I love that decision from Shock to just flood the ball into the corner. He doesn't even try to get the angle on the shot. He knows that they're up by 2 goals. They got the security. If they can just waste time, Shock. Huge play.
And that will do it here in game 2. Knights do get one for the road, but in the end, it won't matter. 3-2 victory for the Sonics. And I feel like when you think about this game on a macro level and just game 2, felt like the first half was all Sonics.
Yeah.
Great attacking,
100%.
Great offense, making sure, or getting that defense spread out on the Knights' end. And then all of a sudden, they kind of took a back foot and said, we're just going to post up on our own side and let the Knights have a few more shots, but the Knights just couldn't find the target.
And I don't mind that passive approach to the game. I just think that whenever you're going to go a little bit slower, you have to make sure that all the challenges you're going for are much more solid. And the Knights, they had a lot of cracks that they could have slipped in and found to break the defense of Sonics, and I think it came down to those challenges last second. And here we can see some highlights at the beginning. They were on point a lot more with their passing, but then once they started to push back, the Knights actually had a couple of chances here to flood the ball forward, get some shots on net, but it all comes down to that defense, and they definitely managed to hold out.
And to be fair, I think the Knights did clean up their midfield presence quite a bit to not leave open nets like that, being beat by basically one touch there from the Sonics, but it was too little too late. And like we said it in game 1 and we said at the beginning of game 2, Soniqs are giving up shots. They're giving up opportunity.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't become shots, but they're opportunity for the Knights that the Soniqs are just able to defend over and over and over again. And that's really been the story of this game, is Soniqs playing a lot of defense, but the Knights just not being able to figure out that last percentage.
But I feel like it's much easier for the Knights to fix that last issue, because if all you're worrying about right now is the shooting, I think they're in a good position right now to take charge and find themselves in the lead of this series. Because if all you got to worry about is shooting, I think they can fix that up and clean up really easily. Because right now I'd be more worried actually about Soniqs, because as much as you want to talk about Rocket League the defense, it is always so much better to be on the opposition and be aggressive and have a confident play style than forcing yourself back.
So we'll jump into game 3. And to your point, we want to see more from the Soniqs. And maybe Sathu, how about that to start things off? The big dunk.
A great read here off the backboard. I love his positioning. He was waiting for Reynolds, because that bounce out actually caught him off guard, the defender. Reynolds was actually looking to carry the ball, dribble it out off the backboard, and then flick it right over Sathu, but instead he's waiting there patiently. He sees the misread bounce, and then he challenges in with a great dunk.
So game 1 starting, or excuse me, game 3 starting off right for the Soniqs. See if the Pittsburgh Knights can get things going. They are finding themselves on the offensive end one more time. A great demo from Gyro opens things up. Another one from Reynolds looking for the final shot. And it's going to be light from AJ, and the respawns come through for the Soniqs.
Now, if you want to compare last season, you know, right there in that instance, whenever you'd see the Knights get 2 demos back to back, you would finally see that third man come in, crash the net, and get the finishing goal. But instead, we're seeing nobody there for the shot for Knights. They're getting those demos and the aggression, but where is the final shot?
Shock played off the corner, and Sathu there to clean it up, and it was a save from Gyro. Great attack from the Soniqs, quick and concise. Dapper's first touch a little heavy, comes out to Reynolds in the end. He's got to go past Sathu, looking for the dunk. Dapper there to play it away. AJ hunting, shot just wide, follow up from Gyro, and the Knights just still can't find the target. AJ's pass will go over to Reynolds, but cut out by Shock.
AJ, he had a chance there. You could see him patiently waiting. He had an opening right on the net. He just couldn't wrap himself around the ball in time. The Knights still hunting for their first goal.
Reynolds had options in AJ. Led him a bit too far. Let Sathu come through. Shock takes it away. The ball comes out to Dapper. He'll throw it on target. Saved away by Reynolds. Opportunity now for the Soniqs. Great pass down to Sathu. Just barely couldn't get around it. AJ plays it across. Gyro on the back post. Everyone went from the Knights, and it's going to pay off as no one back for the Soniqs. Everyone had to stretch out for that play.
And the defense just broke with Shock's initial hit. You can see Dapper didn't think that Shock would have gotten a touch. Instead, he panics a little bit, forces himself up, and the Knights, they capitalize off of the double commit.
So we find ourselves all tied up. The Knights are able to piece something together and finally break that defense of the Soniqs. Soniqs looking to respond immediately. This ball carelessly just bouncing in the midfield. So Shock does find Dapper, looking for 2. So AJ there on the back wall to clear it away. And a great 1-2 downfield for the Knights. Gyro couldn't find his man on the back wall. AJ, great pinch to at least pop it up and slow down the counter from the Soniqs. Reynolds has Gyro shot in the upper corner, but it comes off the crossbar. Reynolds trying to push out Dapper. AJ can't beat Dapper, and a great save from the Soniqs.
And that recovery from Dapper, he was getting bumped, pushed to the side. He still managed to avoid it altogether and get a save, but now AJ again, they're getting flooded. The double commit comes out, and Reynolds is there for the finish.
And look at this play from AJ. Takes it into an air dribble, but look at the challenge, how he positions himself to make that so hard for the Soniqs to win. Comes straight out to Reynolds and an open net off the double commit.
And this is why I wasn't worried at all for the Knights, because they have all this pressure. They're starving out Soniqs, and it's only a matter of time until we see something like that where it's just double commit after double commit. Trying to maintain communication and organization in the backfield when you're getting spammed with demos, with shots, and you're forced into these uncomfortable situations is almost impossible.
Reynolds trying to keep things going for the Knights. They would love a bigger cushion than just 1 goal. Reddles full boost, looking for gyro. Shock knew it was coming. And the defense for Soniqs are able to find themselves out. Dapper tried to get past one, couldn't get by Reddles. Now the counterattack on AJ looking for the demo. Shock's got to get by. Great dodge from Shock and stop. And the Soniqs defense, again, barely hanging on.
If we're going to see Soniqs find themselves back into this series, or this game rather, they're going to need to get a solid transition attack and just catch somebody off guard from the Knights. A demo right there could do it.
Demo, Sathu, gonna take it himself. Shot is dangerous.
Dapper.
The rebound from Dapper's there. We got ourselves a tie game.
Exactly what I mentioned. They need to carry it from the defensive side, which they did. That demo forced the rotation to be off, and then Sathu got a solid flick on net. Dapper's there for a crash, and just like that, after they've been starved, bruised, beaten in their own defensive end, they respond with a great counterattack.
And Sathu taking it all the way. Great job by him to at least create the opportunity. And here's one from Reddle, saved by Shock, and immediately back the other way now. The Knights putting on pressure. Still a dangerous ball as Shock lets it go. Couldn't get to it. Dapper trying to take it himself, finds the back wall. Shock was there. AJ gets the pinch towards the net. The Knights looking to answer back. AJ, tough bounce there from the corner. Read nicely by Sathu, and a weak clear. Here's AJ. Trying to take it by himself, just floating. Had the flip the whole time, and Shock patiently waiting. Yeah. He knew he was past the net at that point.
That's something we've seen so much from this defense. They've been managing to hold on because of plays like that. Dapper, you just saw how slowly he took it. That is the awareness of an RLCS player at its finest, is knowing where your opposition is, where they're positioned, and knowing when you can take your time.
And maybe one last laugh here for the Soniqs as they're in the 0-second time. Everyone committed on the Knights. Sathu, can he put it away for the Soniqs? He can in game 3.
They keep the ball up. Shock, that amazing flip recovery in the corner to beat out 2 defenders. Get it for Sathu, position it perfectly. Soniqs, a huge play. The last thing I expected with how this game went.
Clutch from Sathu. We talked about the clutch factor from Shock earlier, and it's Sathu here in 0-second time, the late heroics. And you can still see the Soniqs, they are feeling a lot of pressure from the Knights. Look at the shot columns compared to the saves on the Sonic side. It has been a lot of pressure they've had to absorb, and a lot of it's come off the back of Dapper.
And with the minimal amount of opportunities that they got, Soniqs were there to punish. Every time they were able to transition out of their defensive end, they put up a great shot. We just saw it here in this replay with Dapper and Sathu, the great duo with the flick from Sathu. And then later in that game, the 0-second goal. These guys are limited on their options and the quantity of opportunities, and yet they're still punishing and making themselves look so great on the field.
And so I ask you again, what do the Knights need to do? Because, look, I think they look great right now.
I think so, too.
The offense is there. The passing is there. The threatening chances. It's just the defense from the Soniqs that is just so rock solid. Even when it looks dicey, they're making the saves.
And the thing of it is they're also controlling the midfield. This game is such an interesting one to watch because it reminds me, like I said, of last weekend with Mist and Ghost, how they were looking so dominant against Soniqs, and yet Soniqs were the ones who walked away with that win in that series. So maybe this is actually a new playstyle that's developing out of Soniqs, where they stay a lot more turtled up on defense. They're waiting it out, playing patient, and they respond with these crazy counterattacks. So, I mean, like, to answer your question, brother, if you're Knights, I think you just have to have a better composure on defense whenever you see those transitions and counterattacks forming.
And we'll see if they can do that just here in game 4, as now backs against the wall for the Knights. And like I said, they've been playing well. Soniqs have been able to just eke out a win here and there and put the Knights on match point. Here's AJ off the ceiling, still has 28 boosts to work with, used his flip to catch up to the ball. Shock. Gyro looking for help from AJ, and AJ trying to follow it up.
Wow, and all the players from Soniqs were just flat on the goal line waiting. Nobody was up there to challenge, letting the Knights have all this space in the midfield. They're letting them just kind of run around the field knowing that a solid opportunity isn't going to come their way so long as they can time their challenges. Soniqs, an interesting play style, but it's definitely working.
They certainly are passive here in this game against the Knights. Like you said, you mentioned the midfield. Soniqs really haven't spent too much time there.
And multiple times, even if you look at the defensive line, they're all kind of flat and composed on the backfield. They're just waiting patiently for that touch out, because it feels like the Knights, while they're not just instantly losing possession, they're not really too threatening with how they're moving the ball.
Soniqs, when the chance has presented itself, they've been deadly in this series. And a big clear comes out from Gyro. Dapper couldn't get by AJ. Shock looking for Dapper, and he plays it out looking for Sathu now. Sathu plays it down. The shot's too high. Poor clear comes out. Dapper was ready for the mistake. The Knights looking to play out from their own end. Sathu to boom it downfield. Sathu chased after and tried to get a bump there on AJ as well. Reynolds, first touch. Dapper barely got a piece of it. Sathu judging his options.
You know it's dangerous when you can see Sathu get the ball on top of his car. A frequent dribbler. So good with the control. Shock now off the backboard. No boost. A bump might come through. A great shot on target. Dapper almost clutched it out.
And still the play dangerous here for the Soniqs. Dapper going to play it off the ceiling. Sathu looking for the shot, saved by Reynolds. Coming down from the ceiling. And Soniqs, it's the best look this game. Can't put it away. Dapper looking for some demos. Shock from his own corner. Out to the midfield. Get some help from Dapper. And these teams trading clears back and forth. Here's Shock, though. He'll bite on it. And he'll beat out AJ. Waiting for the ball to come down was Dapper. In the end, cleared away by the Knights.
A much more even game in terms of possession. We've seen now Soniqs, they've had opportunities, and this time it seems as though the Knights are able to hold and counter anything that the Soniqs team are really throwing towards their own net.
Definitely aren't seeing the control that we saw in previous games from the Knights. Soniqs are breaking out a lot more, but it's turned into a back and forth game through the midfield, and Gyro gets the flipping off the crossbar, and the Knights get their first goal in fashion.
Gyro, the decision here to hit it with the bottom of his car was incredible. I did not think he was just going to go for that. I thought maybe he would have gone for a double touch off the backboard. Instead, he hits it with the bottom of his car, follows it up off the ceiling. Gyro, a nutty play.
So a great goal for the Knights. And that's how you beat down a tough defense. You got to pull off something spectacular.
Yeah.
There's a great pass down from Sathu. Soniqs looking to find their equalizer here in game 4. Shock plays it out to Dapper, and the shot cleared away. Big clear from Gyro, and it's might just roll in for the Knights. It does. Everyone committed for the Soniqs.
Gyro, an MVP performance here in game 4. The way he was able to get in front of that shot. He read the pass out and then cut off any angle towards the net. Gyro, such a huge statement from him in this game.
Staring down at game 5 now. Soniqs have a minute to work with. Gyro pops it up for AJ. Dangerous from this position, looking for the second touch. It went wide. Demo opens up some space for Reynolds. Long clear now for the Soniqs. Everyone racing back for the Knights to get in position for the inevitable attack.
It's going to be difficult, though. 2 goals, 40 seconds. Soniqs hanging on.
AJ went up for it to make it look scary. Didn't have boost. Reynolds still fighting for every inch here and almost gets a second touch there. Gyro to pop it up. Wasting a lot of time are the Knights. Here's Dapper. Can't get a hold of it. Looking for help. Sathu couldn't follow up. He thought Dapper had it. Here's Shock. He's got Dapper. It's over AJ. Dapper looking for a second touch, and he can't get it down on target. 5 seconds left, and it looks like we're going to a game 5 between Pittsburgh Knights and the Soniqs here, and what a series it's been.
And a much different approach to the ball in the midfield game for the Knights. They were definitely analyzing the fact that they had all that space, but instead of pushing themselves forward and just kind of giving the ball away, they actually were passive themselves. And they said, you know what, we're not going to abuse this space and just keep giving you possession, which is what you want. They were falling into the trap of Soniqs. And this game, it felt like they were a little bit more passive. We could see the pop-off from Gyro, huge plays from him, and it just seemed a lot more controlled from the Knights.
And for the Soniqs now, they weren't able to put up a goal here, and
what a read as well from Gyro.
Yeah, it was a great read from Gyro, and it was a great game from Gyro in general. His first goal was something magical from him with the flip reset off the ball. But for the Soniqs, they looked dangerous in this game. They really did, but it just felt like there was a couple. They actually had the same problem that the Knights had.
Exactly.
It was like you kind of put everything together and you give yourself the opportunity. It's right in front of you, and they couldn't put it away.
And that's what I'm talking about. The play styles swapped because they had this space in the middle this time. It was Soniqs who were pushing up forward. But sometimes it's whenever you can't get a counterattack that surprises the defense, it's much more difficult to really get a goal as a team whenever you're moving forward, because you don't have that surprise factor. You don't have that open space that you're forcing the opposition's defense to panic in. And this time the Knights, they were much more calm, much more collected. They pushed themselves back, and that means that they were more prepared for whenever Soniqs would go for counterattacks that would just explode out of their own end.
And so now on game 5 here between these two teams, and honestly, I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
Knowing what the Soniqs have been able to do, their games have been quite scrappy throughout the season, but also knowing the Knights, that they sit at a pretty even record, and it doesn't really feel like they're not playing poorly. They're not playing great.
For sure.
I think so far here in this series, I think they've played pretty good. I mean, this is a great series for the Knights. Win or lose at this point, the first 4 games have been pretty solid from them.
And I think the Knights, their story throughout this whole season has really just been developing their play style, because they can't go for things that are similar to their play style before, where they're getting all those demos. They've kind of had to adjust, because Mist previously on this roster was that guy who would come in for the cleanups. Like I said, I mean, we had a lot of moments where people would go for bumps, they'd get demos, but then that final shot wouldn't come through. That's the role that Mist filled. So not having him on the team and there to finish those shots forces them kind of into a different play style, where they kind of got to develop different things and develop different ways to move and transition the ball downfield.
I'll take a quick break here as we get everyone into the lobby, and of course waiting anxiously for game 5 here. And there's a lot on the line here for these teams. When you think about, obviously the Soniqs have performed quite well throughout the season. They want to keep that going, but also the Knights looking to really start to break out from the bottom of the pack and show that, yes, we still are the same Pittsburgh Knights that we saw last season. Yes, we are looking like a world championship team. That's where the Knights left off last season. That's what we get into this season. As we take a look at the highlights of this series so far, you can see they're a little tied up for the Soniqs in game 1. Let the Pittsburgh Knights get away with the goal. And it was that panic that opened up a lot of opportunity for the Knights here early on in the series.
Definitely.
But as it went on and on, the Soniqs started to find more footing throughout these games. And
in the first game, I actually thought that it was a repeat where we saw Soniqs stuck in their own end, but the difference was just the quality of shots. And now you take it on to the second game, which is one we've seen highlights for right now, and you can tell that they're passing the ball much more fluid. Like it's better quality shots from them, which is something that we look for a lot whenever you're transitioning the ball out. So I think this game 5 is going to be very interesting, because we've seen a battle right now of play styles, but now it's your last opportunity. You have to finalize really the way you're trying to approach yourself towards the ball right now. Who's going to be more passive? Who's going to be more aggressive? I can't wait to find out.
And series like this just make me so excited as we jump into game 5 here, because both these teams are so young in RLCS. It's the first season for the Soniqs. It's the only season, or only the second season for the Knights. So there's a lot of potential that these teams have if they stick around season over season and have great matches like this.
And I think that speaks to the potential of all these players from the Knights. And here's a wide open net from Sathu early. We got 9 seconds into the game, and right away he's shooting a banger from his own goal.
Yeah, big miss there from Reddles. Gyro thought he had it, so he crept up a little bit too far, and Sathu saw the backfield wide open, booms it over Gyro's head. It's as simple as that for the Soniqs to get on the board.
Like I was talking about earlier, though, I mean, the veteran experience and play for the Knights. I mean, these players, like you said, Corelli, and as well as the Soniqs, you've got Dapper and Sathu, but Shock, he's new to the RLCS. This is a great starting season for him so far, and just the potential on both these rosters is out of this world.
Yeah, we've seen glimpses of potential. The Knights, of course, last season, really all of last season, and their major win. And also, so far now from the Sonics, they have looked pretty good here in the RLCS, but even better is Reddles from the pass down from AJ.
And now we've got a response here. Gyro, a huge clear out, then AJ, the three-man passing play. I love that bounce down and a hard read off the backboard for Reddles, reading that bounce off the wall. That was such an impressive shot because he had to pre-jump where that ball was going to bounce, so getting that angle so difficult.
So a tie game in the first minute. Gyro opts not to go for that ball and let Sonics break out. Reddles intercepts. Play down to AJ off the back wall. Gyro a little late. Turns back around. The ball given up. And Gyro fighting for it in the midfield. Reddles plays it over to AJ and met by Dapper. AJ does get the better of it. And Sathu barely hanging on the backfield. Has to dodge another bump. And the demo does come through in the end from Gyro, but the long clear from Sonics will let him get back in rotation. Here's Gyro. Tough save here from Sathu as he clears it off. Still demos those Knights attackers rotating through the defense of the Sonics and picking off players as they go.
And I'm still amazed that even with all those demos, the Sonics, they're still managing to stay and hold themselves into this game so far. You would have expected more panic play, double commits, and yet they're still here tied up with 3.5 minutes to go.
Does speak to the organization and communication that you see from the Sonics. You talk about passive play, especially on defense. That only comes if you can trust your teammates and in constant communication. Sathu off the back wall. Gyro only with one pad to work with.
Nice 50.
Does get the challenge. Here's Shock by himself. He's got to beat the entirety of the Knights defense. Reset. Almost goes under Reddles. Sathu trying to keep it on, but it's going to be a clear for the Knights. Here's a dangerous opportunity as Sathu couldn't get a hold of it. The Knights trying to break out. Shock has other ideas. Sathu pass to himself, looking for one more off the back wall. Comes off a Gyro. AJ, a little bit of time as he tries to get past Shock. Couldn't do so, and now Sonics. They've been across, left, right, up, and down to the net. Haven't really put on a scary shot yet.
And I think something they could implement from the Knights is that demo play, because I think if they could get a demo rotation into their performance and how they're going through the corners of the Knights defense, that can really add more panic and more pressure right now to maybe open up more space.
Coming up on 2 minutes left here in Game 5. This win so crucial to both teams. Though we don't predict any of these teams to be in contention for relegation, you do start to think about how far can each of these teams go.
And it's funny you say that because, you know, earlier on in the season, we saw the pro player power ranking. Sonics were pretty much ranked dead last. Everybody was expecting them to fail. And so far this entire season, they've been outstanding. And they're showing it here why they deserve to be at the top.
But can they eke out a Game 5 win over the Knights? It's a tough ask. And for the Knights, of course, they would love a Game 5 win over a hot Sonics team. A little under a minute and a half left. This ball been back and forth on both sides of the field at the moment. No one really getting the upper hand. Reddles from his corner beats one as Shock can't get by him. AJ. Shock still going. Dapper's going to commit. He does play it to the corner, and it does get by AJ. Sathu gets bumped, no boost, trying to win the challenge against Gyro. Shock looking for help from Dapper. 2 went here. Dapper's going to take it, and it puts it high.
And we're seeing a game of tug-of-war right now in the corner of the Knights defense. Sonics, they've been able to keep the pressure on, but it comes down to that final touch where you can flood the ball and push it out into the middle. They're failing to get it across, and that's why the Knights have been able to hold on even through all this constant pressure.
Gyro wanted the pinch from the wall, couldn't get, or I guess he did get it, but not enough. Sathu, hit by Gyro. Sathu still going to follow up, but AJ so quick off the ceiling, he might have it again. He gets demoed for his efforts.
Shock's taking it slow.
Yeah, and the Knights definitely backed off there.
Yeah.
AJ. You can see Reddles trying to take a piece out of the defense there. 10 seconds left, overtime.
Oh no, a big
possibility,
miss.
But a big miss there, as you said. Gyro going to try and play it across the Knights. Looking for one more opportunity, couldn't get it. And now Sathu's going to keep it up in the end. No one could get a hold of it. And overtime in Game 5. And Turtle, I said it. Every single overtime, the game winner has been scored by Shock for the Sonics.
Clutch.
And here he comes off the back wall looking for a second touch, not enough boost to follow it up.
My question is, how are the Knights going to transition this ball out of their own defensive end? So far, they've done well to hold on, but Sonics, they've been brutal with this pressure, the boost starvation. So far, looking like a different team. They don't care about playing passive. They're trying to win this overtime right here, right now.
Opportunity for Dapper as he comes flying through. Cleared away by Gyro. The Sonics getting the better of the Knights right now. This ball's going to come out dangerously. Will bounce over the frame of the net. Dapper looking to square up that challenge. Great touch from Sath. You almost got it by AJ. Follow up from Sathu. Shock's there. Couldn't get a hold of it. Gyro fighting his way out from his end. It has the flick. Sathu's got to come through and make the save. The Knights looking to be on offense now. This ball played to the back post. Reynolds was there. And it does come off of him to pinch to his own corner.
Huge clear from Dapper all the way across the pitch. Now they've been able to at least have some
Oh, the bump!
What?
Is it going to roll in back post? It's Shock again for the Sonics and a big bump for the Sonics to give themselves a Game 5 victory.
The last thing I expected was a double commit and then a bump from the defensive end. You can see Sonics forcing up. We wanted to see it. The last element they were missing in their rotation was the aggressive play, was that bump, the physicality of the game. They finally implement it here in overtime, and it works wonders for Sonics.
Wow. What a play from the Sonics. And like you said, that was really the last piece that they needed. They put the shot on target. Sure, it was a weak shot, but the bump is what opens it up, and that's all they needed to the back post. And a great bump by Dapper, and he had one heck of a series. You might look at the scoreboard here in this game and say, oh, you know, he might have been playing okay. But what a series from Dapper, and the Sonics really stepped up here in game 5.
I mean, Gyro said don't sleep on the piece, but now I'm thinking don't sleep on the Sonics.
Yeah.
These guys are popping off completely. I've been so impressed. And what's amazing about this roster, they've managed to continue their level of consistency throughout every single series. Every single team, Sonics are here. And this time, I think it was a much less focus on Shock and a much higher one, like you said, on Dapper, on the things he's doing to move the ball down the pitch, the demos that he's getting, the passing, everything from him. I think he really is the core player.
Defense.
And the defense, like you said, for Sonics, excuse me.
Yeah, and like you said, Dapper's defense, I think, really sticks out. The great game-winning bump there, but the defense from Dapper was what kept Sonics at least in this series. So we have to put that one to bed. A Game 5 winner goes in favor of the Sonics over the Pittsburgh Knights. We have E United and G2 coming up. Stay with us.